If you grew up in the 80s, there's a specific way your brain is wired that most people around you simply don't share. Not better, not worse, just fundamentally different. And it starts with something you probably never thought twice about. You grew up in the last decade where the world still had weight to it. Real weight. If you wanted to hear a song, you sat next to the radio with your finger on the record button, waiting. If you wanted to watch a movie, you drove to Blockbuster and hoped nobody had already grabbed the last copy. If you wanted to beat a level, you figured it out yourself. No walkthrough, no YouTube tutorial, no one to ask. And what that friction did to your brain is something researchers are only now starting to fully understand. Every time you waited, every time you worked for something before you got it, your dopamine system was being calibrated, not for the click, for the chase. Psychologists call this effort-based reward processing. And people who grew up with it develop something rare. The ability to stay motivated through the hard part, not just the payoff. That's why instant results feel hollow to you in a way you can't always explain. Your brain was literally built for a different rhythm. But it wasn't just the waiting that shaped you. You also grew up in a house that was empty most afternoons. No supervision, no scheduled activities, no adult narrating your next move. Just you, the neighborhood, and a few hours to fill however you wanted. And so you built something quietly, without anyone telling you to. An internal compass, a way of deciding what to do next based entirely on your own judgment. Psychologists call this intrinsic motivation. You just called it Tuesday. But here's what's interesting, because that independence, that ability to operate without external guidance, it didn't just make you self-reliant. It left a specific mark on how you move through the world today. You're the person in the room who doesn't panic. When something breaks, when plans fall apart, when everyone else is frozen, you're already 3 steps into solving it. Not because you're fearless, because you grew up in a world where figuring it out yourself wasn't optional. That's a real strength, and it shows up everywhere. But here's the quiet side of it. Sometimes that same self-sufficiency makes it genuinely hard to let anyone else carry something with you, because your whole nervous system was trained on the idea that you handle it, that asking for help is the slower option, that waiting on someone else is just inefficient. And so you do it alone, again, not because you don't trust people, but because somewhere in your muscle memory, independence and capability feel like the same thing. There's also this other thing, a feeling that's hard to name exactly. You remember what it felt like to be fully present somewhere. No phone in your pocket pulling your attention. No part of your brain half composing a caption. Just there, completely in it. And now you're surrounded by people who've never experienced that, who don't even know what they're missing. That's not bitterness. It's just a strange kind of loneliness that comes from remembering something nobody else can quite access anymore. Here's what that actually means, though. People who grew up in the 80s carry something that can't be downloaded, can't be learned from a podcast, can't be recreated by any app. You know what it feels like to be bored enough to invent something, to want something badly enough to actually wait for it, to be present enough to remember it clearly 20 years later. That's not nostalgia. That's a neurological baseline that most people growing up today will never have access to. You didn't just survive a different era. Your brain was built by it. Growing up in the 80s didn't just give you better music and a stronger opinion about which decade got it right. And that's not something time can take back.